Business on Purpose podcast.
If you want to change the world, then start by making your bed. That was Admiral William McRaven, and it's something that we revisit all the time. Hey, it's Scott Beebe with the Business on Purpose podcast. Time to be liberated from the chaos of working in your business. I get questions quite a bit about how I can leverage my business to kind of transform a culture, to save the world, if we want to talk about it in grand scope. And quite candidly, one of the reasons that we founded Business on Purpose back in 2015 was to create this connection, was to merge the connection between faith and work and conviction and this desire that a lot of people have to want to bring some level of transformative impact to their world, the world, whatever that scope looks like for them, whatever that breadth looks like for them. And so on occasion, I'll get a phone call, and it's usually a phone call with kind of a last minute, I just heard something, I just read something, how do I embed that into my business? And so they'll be at a conference, they'll read a book, they'll listen to a podcast, they'll be at church and have walked away from a sermon or something, and I'll get a phone call, a text, or the next time we meet, and they say, how can I make this transformative impact when I'm so busy in my business? It's one of my favorite questions. I actually have a lot of favorite questions because I love discussing and interacting with heroic small business owners around their questions. But the reason this one impacts me is because since about 1999 or 2000, I've been wrestling with this idea of how do we merge faith, conviction, this conviction of things we cannot see. For instance, if you ride through a town and you see things with your eyeballs that you look at either as injustice, you see them as, man, I wish that could get better. I wish there's a way that we could offer help and hope and whatever in those situations. And you see that, and you have a conviction that something can be done about that. That's essentially a faith. Now, I happen to have a conviction of something I cannot see in the trajectory of the Bible, God, His Son, Jesus. Those are the convictions that I have. So the output that I give, the work that I do, is going to be as a direct result of the motivation that those things bring. Doesn't mean I'm going to sit on this podcast and just simply read the Bible. That's another, it's called the One Year Bible Podcast, and I actually listen to that because that's how I do my Bible reading. But that's not what I've been invited to do. What I've been invited to do is to invest in heroic small business owners and their teams and their key leaders. And so living out that conviction, living out that faith, if you will, it's one of our core values, work is faith. I want to see a transformative impact within the lives, the homes, the businesses, the marriages, and the kids of heroic small business owners. That's where I'm focused. That's what I've got deep desire for. And so the question is, how do I live that out? Well, I live that out through regularly scheduled, intentional meetings. Now, the majority of our time in those meetings is spent around what we call the 4 steps to business freedom: vision, mission, value, systems, processes, org charts, job roles, weekly schedules, all of those foundational structures that it takes to run a really, really sound, healthy business. Within that, though, inevitably what happens is we end up talking a lot about what goes on outside of business. Now, I'm not a life coach. I love life coaching. I think, especially if you get a good one, there's a few good ones and a lot of average ones. And so if you get a really good coach who can help you walk through life, and sometimes that's a pastor, sometimes it's a guy or a gal who run under the heading of a life coach. And so that's great. It's just not what we do. But through the context of our business, we talk a lot about life. Because as we're uncovering vision, as we're uncovering job roles, team meetings, weekly schedules, all the foundational things, life ends up coming up anyway. And so we talk about those things. So we are able to look and see a tangible, transformative impact through our business. But somebody who's not in coaching, who's not in this kind of dialogue, discussion-based, knowledge-centered business, how do you make a transformative impact when you're running a landscape company, when you're running a trucking company, when you're running a restaurant, when you're running a law firm, when you're running a medical practice? How do you make transformative impact? I want to give you an example. This just happened yesterday. So a local landscape company, they're both maintenance and construction, realized as they were looking back that a lot of their team members were cashing checks at local grocery stores and check cashing locale. Through them cashing checks at those locations and not having a bank account, they were racking up fees. Well, they ran the numbers and they realized that 1 year worth of cashing checks at one of these cash checking entities was costing in fees an entire week of salary. So out of 52 weeks, let's call it 50 after, time off, vacation, sick, whatever. After 50 weeks, one of those entire 50 weeks, they were working just to pay the check cashing entity. And so the owners of the business wanted to do something about that. And so what they decided to do was not just, hey, let's teach them how to get a checking account or go to a bank to get a checking account or whatever. What they did instead is they said, you know what, we not only need to teach life skills, the importance of having a checking account, personal finance, etc. We also need to do a better job of teaching our own technical capabilities. So what they're doing 3 weeks out of the month, they're teaching technical capabilities, how to deal with customers. That's more of a soft skill, but how to change sprinkler heads, how to properly dig a grade, all those sorts of technical things, how to care for a lawnmower. But then 1 week out of every month, they're doing Life 101. Life 101. And so Life 101 yesterday was them sitting in the back of their building and talking about personal finance. Now, are they going to make a transformative impact yesterday? No, of course not. In fact, it might even fall on deaf ears. But over time, systematically, methodically, month after month after month, if they can talk about it this month, talk about it next month, talk about it the following month, talk about it the following month after that, I say it all the time, repetition is the mother of all learning. I got that from Skip Clarkson, my first ever Pfizer manager. If you can do that with great repetition, you are going to make massive impact, but it's got to start with vision. MyBusinessOnPurpose.com/vision if you want to get that down. And then in the context of vision, you can start to lay out these transformative, repetitious things that you can do to serve your team, and you will make a transformative impact in your team. Look no further. MyBusinessOnPurpose.com. See you next time, right here on the Business on Purpose podcast.